Good morning, good afternoon, good night, my dears. Welcome to the Worldwide Podcast Ecuador edition. So for this podcast, we have our friend Edison, who works with tutors, which is pretty good because we're getting to know lots of things about Ecuador. But before introducing our guest, I just want to ask how's Guilherme because this dude, he's been moving all life long, bro. He's never in one country. He's such a moving guy.
Nomad.
Yeah,
Nomad.
nomad. He's definitely a nomad right now. Digital nomad right now. And this guy
Yeah,
is
basically, in a way.
living his best life. How are you doing, buddy?
Yo, I'm very happy. Chile is gorgeous, guys. I've moved to Santiago, the capital of Chile. Why? Because I just think Chile, as we actually talked in our podcast, has everything. Like it has hikes, it has volcanoes, it has waves, it has everything. So I decided to come here, be here for a couple of months, see everything, integrate into the culture, practice my Spanish, which I think is much better now, actually, because even with international people here, you speak Spanish, not even English. You meet a German girl, you speak English, you speak Spanish. Um, so yeah, it's been amazing. And for the first time, we have all three people from the podcast in the same continent.
Yeah, dude.
In the same continent, first time ever. So yeah, every single one of us three is in South America, in different countries, of course. But I'm so ready for Ecuador. I am obsessed with this country because of surfing. Guayaquil is very famous for surfing, and also other coastal parts of the country. I know some people who surf a lot in the country. So yeah, I would love to talk a little bit about that as well later in the podcast. So yeah, we have our guest Eddie. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm happy to chat with you both today.
No, of course, of course. And yeah, your career is, correct me if I'm wrong, a tour guide or providing tour experiences. Can you explain a little bit?
Yes, yes, correct. Well, my main job is to be a pilot, actually. That's my profession. But as time
Wow.
passed, yeah, I basically do
Right.
experiential learning programs for mainly universities in other countries like United States, France, Canada, Germany. So we bring students to the country and we do trainings while we do traveling around the country. So all the activities we do are hiking up volcanoes, getting lost in the jungle, doing ocean activities, merging in the communities, all kind of crazy things while they do community development help.
That is great, actually.
That's
Wow.
pretty great, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure more South American countries have that. I'm not sure, but I've heard that Ecuador has a lot of voluntary programs for people from the outside to come into the country and help the community integrate themselves as well. I know Costa Rica is very famous for that, but Costa Rica is like famous for everything. Like every single person wants to
Yeah.
go there just because it's like beautiful. But Ecuador, I think that's a perfect way to bring people and to bring tourism into the country because they get to experience the country in a budget way while at the same
hmm
time helping the community and helping people inside the country. So it's fulfilling at the end of the day. It's not just going into the country and staying in a resort and just not
Correct.
seeing the real Ecuador
And the
for
real
sure.
Yeah,
experience about the
exactly.
country, pretty good. You're basically a hero, for sure.
Not at all, but we try to do our part. There's a lot of people that care, I would say here. And the fact that Ecuador is such a small country allows you to visit all the regions in short periods of time while not spending that much money. So I feel like that's why Ecuador is turning into be a huge destiny. Because as you said, yeah, as you travel around, you get to meet different people, culture, flora, fauna, while you help the sustainability of the country and the communities, and that's definitely great.
Well, what's usually the people's favorite activity that you usually provide? Does it involve like the nature of the jungle, the hiking through volcanoes, the ocean? What is it usually?
I feel like there's two answers for that. The whole world knows about Galapagos.
Mm.
Galapagos, definitely.
Almost
Yeah.
almost no one knows Galapagos is in Ecuador. as crazy
That is true,
as
actually.
crazy as it sounds, yeah.
Yeah, people think
Everyone knows
there is
about
an
Galapagos.
island in Caribbean or kind of stuff. That's the first stuff, you know.
Yeah,
But
it's like,
we're
you
from
know,
South
they know.
America, we actually know. But I guess it happens with people from Europe or America.
Correct. Europe, North America, even
Yeah.
Asia, they know about Galapagos. I feel like definitely Galapagos is a must, a place that is magical itself. I mean, the whole Darwin evolution, plus finding
Mm.
unique species like nowhere else in the world is the number one attraction Ecuador has. But I would say of course, the second huge activity that exists here is the Amazon basin forest. We have a big part of jungle all the way north to south
Yeah.
in Ecuador that is very attractive for people to visit and get lost in nature.
Mm. And and surfing. Do you also provide your people with some surfing lessons and some surfing activities?
Yes, of course. In Ecuador, throughout the Pacifico, we have places like Canoa, Montañita, how long that waves are crazy. And the coolest part
Mm.
is that it's warm all year long. We don't have seasons in Ecuador. So
All
in the
right.
Pacific coast, the weather is hot all year long.
Yeah, because of the
Wow.
line. Yeah, sure. We gotta talk about it. Yeah, sure.
Correct?
Might
And
be
we
crazy.
run the
Might be
equator.
crazy. Like people say that sometimes you're not expecting to rain, and suddenly you're just logging on the
Like a
street,
desert.
and it
Yeah.
became like a
Yeah,
fucking storm. Not a lot of sun. So yeah,
yeah.
might be crazy feelings right
We
there.
don't we don't have a weather channel. We don't have a weather person. Nobody dares predict the weather here because you can get sued if you ever try to do that.
I think people have this perception that the closest to the Ecuador is always going to be the warmest, but Ecuador, I feel like it rains a lot. Like
Yeah.
rains a lot. It's like it could be hotter in Portugal than in Ecuador, and Portugal's obviously further away than the Ecuador line than Ecuador. So it's yeah, it's a big thing that people think that when you go to Ecuador, you will experience like 50 degrees. Maybe you do, but like not like throughout the whole year,
Yeah.
or throughout the whole big period of time,
And
and
not
you'll
the
have
same
lots of
50
rains.
degrees that you experience, for example, in Sevilla or in the
Yeah,
desert. It's definitely different vibes, but still warm as fuck.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
For sure, for sure.
yeah. Our weather develops more depending on the regions. If you are in the Amazon, it's tropical weather, normally warm, a lot of rain. If you are in the highlands, it's cold, but because of the altitude, we got to remember that Quito itself it's almost 3,000 meters high. So because of the altitude, when you
Yeah,
are in the Andes, it's gonna be cold. But then if you go down to the Pacific coast, 0 meters altitude, then it's warm all the time. So it depends more on the region you are in Ecuador than the equator itself.
Mm.
that's
Can
crazy. I mean,
Yeah, can
I
we
guess
talk?
Quito is the second
Go.
highest capital of the world, right?
Is actually the first one because
The first,
in
La Paz.
Bolivia, La Paz is not the official capital. The official capital
All
of
right,
Bolivia is Sucre.
Sucre. Oh, all right.
Oh wow.
So yeah, a lot of people believe that La Paz is the capital, but it's not the official capital of Bolivia.
So Quito is the first official highest capital of the world.
Highest, yeah,
Official.
highest capital in the world. That's crazy, actually.
All right.
Yeah,
So
and for example, here we have as well the farthest point from center of the Earth, which is the top of Chimborazo volcano, as well as the closest point to the atmosphere.
okay.
We know like Mount Everest is tallest mountain, but Chimborazo volcano already starts at 3,000 feet, 3,000 meters, like almost 10,000 feet. So making the
Jesus.
farthest point from the center of the air and the closest point to the atmosphere.
Can we? Yeah, let's go back to the altitude because I have a question. Will I get drunk with 2 beers if I drink in Quito? Like, like
I
what?
don't
That's
think with two
crazy.
beers, but you get drunk faster.
Yeah.
A simple walk is a workout. Like you walk some stairs and you're like tired and you're like, what's wrong? I'm an athletic person, but the altitude is actually a thing. Cars don't develop the same way, and genes in general don't develop the same way. You get drunk faster, yes, that is also true, and you weight less. as well because we are
You weigh
right in the
less.
equator. Yes,
Oh
you weight less.
wow.
Your weight in the equator is lower than anywhere else in the world. That's why you can eat as much crazy food as you want.
Physics is
Yo,
crazy, you know.
physics.
Yeah,
Physics.
physics is crazy.
It's insane. Wow.
And also, yeah,
Like,
it sucks because when my team goes to plays right there in Quito, it sucks, bro, because the players, they just stop learning how to play soccer. You know, it's horrible. I mean, it's the worst thing in Libertadores is to get in a group stage with a team that gets his stage in the altitude, because it sucks. It sucks. Like we went to
and
play
like,
Definitely.
against Alcas right now. Alcas is one of, in the middle table right there in Ecuador. And we are one of the best teams in America. We are the former champions of Libertadores, and we lost against Alcas in the fucking altitude right there. Fuck, man.
there's actually such like an advantage for like sports in general for Ecuador. Like someone goes to play against a team in Ecuador and they have to play
Yeah.
in Quito. Like Ecuador is gonna win. Like the endurance that you need to have and the training to be able to sustain yourself in such a climate and such a different geography, because of the altitude. Like you won't play nearly as well as you play back in your home country, and the people in Quito will just like demolish you, even if
Yeah.
they're like
Correct.
way worse. Even if their skills are so bad, they will still overpower because of endurance,
Yeah.
and that is crazy to me. That's crazy.
But come on, they will get angry
Eh,
because Ecuador actually qualified to the last World Cup, and then they actually did pretty good right there. So yeah, they're increasing their soccer quality right there.
we have not done as good as Brazil and the popular teams in South America. But yeah, I mean the Ecuador team did pretty good last World Cup.
They
What is
developed.
interesting as well is that there is a lot of high performance athletes that come to Ecuador to train. You will see people from athleticism, even like American football or other disciplines come into Ecuador, and you'll see them like running up the volcanoes, running up the mountains, kind of like go through training seasons here in the country. Is becoming a very popular activity as well.
See, that's something that you could never do in Europe. Like that's something that I love about South America, and I wish like more countries had a little bit more tourism, because even Paraguay, which is like not even that touristic, has
Yeah.
incredible like unique landscapes that people from Europe could easily go to Paraguay and like see these huge waterfall or visit these huge rainforests and jungle, and just experience this beautiful thing for such low price. Just, I mean, the plane tickets, but afterwards it's very affordable.
Correct.
100%. And I'm sure in Ecuador is the same thing.
Definitely a lot cheaper than Europe.
I mean, except Uruguay and Chile, because
Uruguay is
man, these
expensive, man.
countries are expensive. Damn.
Yeah. What about Brazil? Is
Yeah.
Brazil expensive?
I mean, if you compare to Uruguay, not at all. I mean, Uruguay might be the most expensive country in South America, mainly because they
Wow.
import lots of stuff to there. If you go to a Uruguayan shop, you definitely see lots of Ecuadorian or
Yeah, yeah,
Brazilian
yeah.
or Argentinian products. They
Mostly
actually,
Argentinian, like
yeah, they,
just
they actually
Argentinian. It's crazy.
don't make things because it's such a small country,
Oh, wow.
and also they don't have resources for doing that. So that's why it's very expensive. But Brazil, if you compare to
Exactly.
both countries, is not that expensive, but it's still expensive if you go to the capitals. I mean, Rio, São Paulo. São Paulo is
Mhm.
might be the most expensive metropolis of South America, which is
Oh, wow.
which is a very expensive city. I mean, even for people from Rio. I went there last month. I'm actually having to go there every single month because of work. And yeah,
Mhm.
a hot dog I buy in Rio for 10 reais in São Paulo cost the double. I mean 20. So it's pretty expensive city.
Oh, wow.
But it depends the region. So I don't know if it happens the same in Ecuador. If you go to, for example, I don't live in a fancy zone right here in Rio. So if you go right there down street in my place, you can buy cheap things. But if you go to
Yeah.
Copacabana or to, these fancy places, you definitely kind of spend lots of money. So I don't know if it happens the same way there. So they charge you for the
Yeah.
region. You don't have this, exactly same price for everywhere. South
Yeah.
America vibes.
Yeah.
We do have that everywhere you go. I mean, Ecuador is generally cheap. We are our our country survives basically in agriculture. So finding fruits and vegetables it's actually cheap. Eating organic in Ecuador is cheaper than going to a fancy supermarket and buying good looking, more expensive
Yeah.
products. You go to a
Mm.
little market, you get $1, $1 of tomatoes, $1 of onions, $1 of bananas, and they give you like five, six, seven of each. For you to have an idea, lunch is our main meal here. So in every corner, you find what we call almuerzo, which is lunch. They give you
Mm.
a soup. They give you a main as a starter. They give you a main course with like some either chicken, meat, or pork chop, rice, salad, juice, and dessert. All of that for $3, $4. You can easily have all of that for three, four
Amazing.
dollars. Now, as you said, of course, if you go to the expensive areas, you find a meal for like $20, $25. Well,
Yeah.
it depends on the neighborhood you are as well.
Yeah. Here in Chile is the same, but I would say also depending on the country of the food. Because I mean, maybe it's just me, but I haven't found a Chilean place that cost me the same as a Venezuelan place. Because Venezuelan food here is super cheap. Oh my god, I found a couple near my home that I can also have a lunch for like €5, €6 maximum. But if I go eat at a Chilean place, I pay like 12, 13, which is crazy. It's insane. I have
Wow.
no idea why. So for here, from my own experience, it's literally depending on the country of the food. So damn Chileans always charging more. but um but yeah, like here, like fruit for example is just insanely expensive, and I know that Ecuador is very popular with fruit because you guys love it, especially bananas. You guys have tons of different types of bananas.
Yeah.
So oh my god, I wish those prices were in here as well, for sure.
We gotta remember since we don't have seasons, you have fruits and vegetables all year long. Every
Yeah, so
day
you
the
don't have to
sun
Yeah.
import.
rises.
Yep.
Every day
Mm.
the sun rises at 6 a.m. and the sun sets at 6 p.m. 12 hours of sunlight every day. So therefore, we have a huge agricultural production. And as I said,
Mm.
like we never have that feeling. I remember when I talk with Europeans, for example, they're like, "How do you eat a watermelon in the winter?" There are seasons where you can eat fruits. There are seasons where you cannot. That doesn't happen here. You have fruits and vegetables, fresh, good, organic all year long.
Damn,
Exactly.
I don't know if I'd like to live in a place where the sun sets every day at 6 p.m. I, I I have this thing with Portugal that I love to be in the summer where the sun sets at like 9:30 at night, because then you have like parties at the beach until so late with sunsets, and I don't know, the vibe is just different. I understand it
But
because
it
also in
lasts,
South Africa,
but it
it's
lasts just a few, bro. I mean, it lasts not
I
too
know,
long.
but it's
So
I know, but those 3 months where that happens,
yeah, I
it's
got
the
you. I got you.
most
Yeah.
euphoric moment ever. That's
Yeah, I
why
got you.
if I could, I would only live in Portugal during the summer. I don't care about the rest. From June or July until September, I'm in Portugal. Then the rest of the year, boom, out.
Yeah, this
I
missing
mean,
feeling, it's for
Italy,
real.
whatever, I'm
It's
out.
actually real. This missing feeling. I mean, but imagine living in Iceland where actually the sun never sets, or sometimes it,
Or this
or the
or
night
yeah,
is
or the
forever.
opposite, yeah.
Yeah, so it
That sounds
can be
crazy.
worse. It can be worse.
I,
But we
I
had,
like the idea of Portugal where you party at night and there is last sunlight. I like that, but come on, having 24 hours of sunlight or 24 hours of darkness, that would be crazy.
yeah, for a month, I guess. For a month, for a month and a half, kind of stuff. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. Also, something weird about that. We were just discussing prices. One last thing on this. You guys have the U.S. dollar. That's interesting. Not even
Correct.
like
Yeah.
Ecuadorian peso or something like that. It's interesting.
Our official currency used to be sucres, and that was in honor to Marshal Antonio José de Sucre, who was Simon Bolivar's right hand. But at the end of 1999, we switched to dollarization. And since that moment, we've been using US dollars. Crazy way the way it was done. Over a million of Ecuadorians migrate because our economy collapsed. For you to have an idea, before dollarization, $1 used to be worth 1,500 sucres. After
Whoa,
dollarization, it turned into 25,000.
Wow.
So
crazy currency.
25,000 was enough to pick up my girlfriend, go to the movies, buy tickets, buy food, come back. All of
Yeah.
that ended up being $1, which was enough for a water, for nothing. So over a million of Ecuadorians migrate mainly to the United States and Spain, but they never forget their families behind. They are well always sending money month by month, and that's our economy succeed after that huge impact that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't met too many Ecuadorian people in Europe actually. I don't know why. It's mostly Colombians, Chileans,
Yeah, but
Argentinians, of course.
they're in Madrid. I've met like the first Equatorians
Mm,
I've met. It wasn't here in Brazil. It was actually in Madrid. They're a kind of colon of
Yeah.
Equatorians right there.
The crazy thing is that most of Ecuadorians you've meet in Europe are people that migrate because of dollarization. Since
mm-hmm.
that moment, we are required to have a visa to go to Europe, which doesn't happen to, I believe, any other country in South America. Colombians can go, even if you want to go for vacation, even if you want to land in a European airport, you must have a visa. And in order to have a
Oh wow.
visa, you must prove you're wealthy, you have properties, you have a good income. Not even 10% of Ecuadorians that apply for a visa in Europe get the visa for tourism. So it's very challenging for us to travel around.
That's yeah,
Kind of
that
crazy.
sucks. Your passport doesn't
And
like weigh too much.
yeah,
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
and Edison, when was it? I mean, the dollarization. When was
At
99.
the end of
start?
1999,
Yeah.
1999. All right.
99.
our president, Jahamil Mawan, was. I don't want to make this boring. Start talking about
Oh, we love
politics.
it. We love it.
Basically, the president was on the news saying he's making interesting business with a powerful group from the United States. After a week and a half, all banks closed. We knew that as the holiday of banks. Nobody could access to money. Nobody could pay. Nobody could get paid. Imagine you waking up one day, you have no access to your bank, no access to your money, no access to nothing. That's how we realized we were switching to dollars.
Wow. I also heard, yeah, people don't have bank accounts now or too many bank accounts now because I think it's easier just to get a digital wallet, I would say, because US dollar, you can just do that more easily, maybe. But yeah, I also heard that.
Correct. And as hard as it was at the moment, as I said, over a million of Ecuadorians migrate. Well, nowadays somehow we are being supported or held by one of the most powerful currencies of the world. Somehow
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have that financial backup. But the crazy thing is that we cannot print our own money. That is why you never find change in Ecuador. Nobody has changed because buying a quarter, we have to buy that quarter to the United States.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So it's easier just to pay with a card, with a debit card or with something.
And
yeah,
how
Yeah.
is
correct.
and how is the acceptance right there with credit cards? Everybody, if you go to a shop like the small shop of your neighbor, they do accept credit cards. How is it?
No,
No, yeah.
most of the places cash. If you can
Uh,
pay with credit card in like fancier restaurants, supermarkets, hotels, but if you are like traveling around, for example, at the Pacific coast where all the surfers and the hippie vibe and the little cabanas, nobody accepts credit cards there.
And nobody has
no.
changed, so you have to to
And
got your
nobody
account in
has
mind.
changed.
It's
Wow.
always a tip. It's always a tip. Wow.
Yeah.
Now switching a little bit, like there's an interesting thing in Ecuador that I was also talking a little bit with Carlos. That like from last year, the country has had a bit of a change in terms of safety and criminality and all these things. Because he told me like this doesn't even happen in South Africa, and it's one of the most dangerous countries in the world. That people go
Mhm.
into buses and they rob people inside the public buses and also
Yeah.
in restaurants and also like everywhere. Why is this happening? Or like, or one
Oof.
of the reasons.
Well, the main reason we know about is Ecuador is the peer that exports a bunch of drug out there to the world. Now, Ecuador is not a producer, but all the cartels that are around move the drug through Ecuador, get to the Pacific, and from there is exported to the world. Now, before last year, there was one, we can call it like main band called Los Choneros, who were the owners of all the transportation in Ecuador. The leader of Los Choneros got murdered. So what happened since last year is the four new, we can call it that way, the four people that were left behind are fighting to see who is the new leader. And all of them have created their own little groups, that are basically trying to take control of the drug roads in Ecuador. So that I feel like that has been the main issue that has happened. Of course, then having a lot of migration, having a lot of lack of opportunities. Ecuador don't really have that much stable jobs. 48% of our working force are self-employees, and 20% out of that basically have informal jobs, which means you take a pot, put it on the streets, and start selling food, or you go and buy things on the streets and you start selling things on the streets. So job opportunities don't really exist, and I feel like that is also another thing that is attacking the country a lot.
Hmm. But the organized crime is interesting because it's more about gangs than actually just petty crimes. I'm guessing. So it's more like, oh, okay, I need to, in order to enter this gang, or in order to people make me seen, I need to commit this, or I need to make a stand. And this is just like entering a bus and robbing people, or going to a restaurant and gunning,
And
not
that is
gunning
the way
people, but
they
robbing them.
control. They control neighborhoods. They know this is my neighborhood. I'm in charge of this. So the first thing they have to do is make people afraid. Where basically you have a lot of extortion. They arrive to your place and they say, "Hey, if you don't want me to rob you, you have to pay this amount of money every month." So that has been turning into a big problem. Now, of course, unfortunately, the government is not really taking care of it. Our police, army are trying to do the best they can, but I feel like we need to change a lot of in the laws. A lot of, I feel like somehow the human rights are a lot focused in what's happening to the criminals and not to the people that are trying to make their day by day life. I
Hmm.
feel like it needs a lot of laws changing as well.
Yes, putting more laws more strict, right? Yeah, a little bit, and maybe
Correct.
forming new ones that protect the individual from gang activity. Let's call it that. It's interesting.
Correct. So something that happened in Colombia, for example, they did the ghost judges, where the cartel members that are going to trial didn't knew who the judge was. Because picture yourself, you have an excellent career, you work for your country, you want to do things right, you want to save your country, and the next morning you are in trial with the leader of a huge drug dealing organization that has been supported by Mexican cartels, Colombian cartels. Next day, you have to sentence that person for 20, 30, 50, 35 years jail. Next morning, you have a phone call telling you, your wife lives here, here, here. You have two sisters, one brother. Your daughter is going to this school, and you have pictures of her. I mean, I don't know, but no matter how much you want to do good for your country, the moment that something like that happens, you're not going to give a shit about anything. So what Colombia did was good. They have ghost judges, cartel members didn't knew who was the judge, and that was one of the big changes that they did. But as I said, all of this has governmental decisions to go through.
That is very interesting. Yeah, I had when I was traveling in Uruguay, I met a few people from Venezuela, and we were discussing like the Central America and also like the big problems and why it's so dangerous to be in Nicaragua, Honduras, and El Salvador, because a lot of it's the laws are not strict enough to protect the individuals, so the individuals take up to themselves to be the laws, so they become vigilantes. But then what it happens is a little bit of anarchy, and then there's no control. So one group of people may think that this is the right way to govern a place, and then you have the opposite from another group, and then it clashes, becomes like
Yeah.
a conflict. So it's interesting to have that, to see that, but also ways to improve it and ways to overpass it. Um, with a
This is
government.
what South America is all about. I mean, every country you go right here, it happens the same. Right here in Brazil is not different. You also have what we call milicianos, which is the same. It's pretty much the same. So they just took control of one neighborhood, and they're kind of the owners of this neighborhood, and they run the place. They charge people from this place, and which is the saddest is that in those areas, it's actually the poor areas. So people actually don't have money for buying shit, and they have to buy for more expensive than the normal market for those guys that owns the places. So that's a very, I mean, you're really fresh right here in South America. Now you start to
And I'm in
understand
Chile,
how
so
things. Yeah, you're in Chile, which is a great country.
So-
You're doing very great right there. I mean,
And
it
it's
has
interesting what you're saying. Sorry.
no just
Go, go, go.
Sorry, I was
I
sorry.
mean, just finally is the top. I'm just saying that the Chile is one of the best countries, in South America. I mean, in this area, but still, if you go to poverty areas right there, you're gonna find
of course,
something
of
like
course,
this.
you're gonna
pretty the
see
same.
different things.
Yeah.
For sure.
Correct. And that is exactly, you're very right on that. What they do is they focus in poor areas. So they arrive, they take all these teenagers that have no chance to go to school, take all these young adults that have no job opportunities, and they offer them money to be part of them. So when you have no jobs, when you have no studies, you have no education, you have no chances, no opportunities, somebody comes and offers you 3, 4, 5 times what you can make in a basic salary, or selling candles on the streets, or selling phones on the streets. Of course, it sounds tempting. And on top of that, if you have that much power as cartels have, not just in Ecuador, but in all the countries that are
Exactly.
going through all these drug dealing processes. They have money, they have guns, they are even, as I said, scaring judges, scaring the law. So it's a good business for all these, unfortunately, poor people that have no other way, or see no other way to make that right.
Yeah. Also, it happens in a different way in South Africa, where crime is very big, but it's more with petty crime. So it's like an individual that robs like a white person, let's call it that, or even black people. Black people rob black people in South Africa. But the thing is that it's the thought that, okay, I could work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week for a month, and still not make enough money to pay my rent and to pay my bills and to eat. Or I can rob this person that probably has way more money than me and will be okay, and I have enough money for 2 months. What will it be?
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Again, it goes obviously with lack of opportunity, infrastructure, a lot of that things, but it also comes with this difference, especially in South Africa, difference of income between two groups, the whites and the blacks mostly. It's much better now than it was obviously years before, but yeah, it's as well a little bit in that. But this cartel talk, I could talk this like for 3 hours. It's so fascinating to me, how countries in South America do this a lot, and how the crime goes mainly through organized crime, for cartels and everything.
Let's talk about good stuff.
Yes, let's talk actually now. What has been your craziest experience while touring around Ecuador? Like some sighting that you saw that were like, oh shit, and your people were also like, I will never forget this. What was it?
One of the craziest, the scariest things was we saw a volcano kind of exploding. Yes. I remember, one of my friends, his name is Steve, and he's a photographer. And I was doing a tour around Baños de Agua Santa. Is a population, like a very small town, less than 50,000 people, that are right under one of the most active volcanoes of the country. And we were hiking the mountain in front of it. and all of a sudden we hear the alarm. We start feel,
Sirens?
the earth moving. Yes, sirens, alarm, and then we see some of the ash coming out, and then some lava like coming out, and we were like, oh, like freaking out, but at the same moment being like, this is so fucking cool. And of course, my friend photographer was having so much fun in that moment.
It doesn't matter if I die. I'm gonna get the best picture ever. Let's go.
Wow. So you actually
Yeah,
you
but
saw in front of you a live lava right there? Oh Jesus.
yes, I was in the mountain in front of that.
All
And
right. All
luckily,
right.
as I said, it was kind of like a minor, you know, like
Burst.
starting to.
Yeah.
But yeah, the lava came out, luckily went down the river. So it didn't affect the
Could you feel
population.
how
It was just
warm was it? Even if you were far from it or
not really,
all
not
right.
really. We just saw this red light coming out. Crazy. That's one of the crazy things
Jesus
I ever
Christ.
seen.
It reminds me that
Yeah,
video we've
that's all.
commented about Kyrgyzstan. Do you remember?
Yeah. About the dude just seeing like
Yeah.
an
The
avalanche
avalanche.
going towards
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Imagine if there was a video of that, Eddie. Imagine.
Ooh.
Famous on the
He
internet.
Ooh.
he get viral. Definitely get viral.
Yeah,
More people
definitely.
would come to Ecuador because of that. Literally.
Just to see that.
You would go on Oprah, you would go on Ellen. I don't know if that's still a thing, but you would go on every talk show and you would talk about the
Yeah.
experience, how I almost died during
Yeah.
a tour in Ecuador. For sure.
Yeah.
No, amazing. We can actually wait. What time is it? Oh, okay.
We
So
got
a little bit.
some.
Yeah, we got time. We got time. So I wanted to discuss a little bit on the wildlife because I know that Ecuador is very famous on like very different species, not only in the Galapagos Islands but also like around the country. I'm sure like Guayaquil, since it's closer to the Pacific, has different seals and different animals that probably Quito doesn't
Mhm.
have, and even birds. Like I've also heard that it's a bird paradise for anyone who loves birds. Ecuador.
Correct. Yes,
What
the flora
animals?
and fauna.
No, go on.
Yeah, the flora and fauna we had here is huge. The one that we know is already huge. And why it's so popular, as I said, is because it has the biggest biodiversity per meter square that you can find around, since it's a small country.
Hmm.
And you have, as you were saying, if you are into bird watching, you find some unique species here in the Amazon as well as in the highlands. But then the jungle life is as well very crazy because we have, for example, in the northern part, Cuyabeno, which is a drum forest. And as you start getting in the boat, you go up to 5 hours deep in the forest where your lodge is going to be out. And only there you have 8 different kind of ecosystems. Each ecosystem holds total different kind of species. So, it's like a very good niche of biology of all kind of species you can have. Not just in Galapagos, but for example, in Cuyabeno, we have the pink dolphin that
Pink. Wait.
crosses.
Pink dolphins. Go back.
We
Wait,
have,
that's
yeah,
actually real. Pink dolphins.
yes, we have the
What?
pink dolphins, and they are freshwater dolphins, the only kind of freshwater dolphins that exists.
Fresh water on rivers? That's
Yes,
crazy.
there
I
is
had
one
no
river
idea.
on River Cuyabeno, and it's so cool because you go there and you see a pink dolphin right there, hanging
Looks like
there.
something from Minecraft. Like, like it's
Right?
crazy. A pink dolphin. That's a crazy
Yeah.
attraction. Actually, I've never. Yeah, pink dolphins.
Mhm.
I
And,
didn't know
and
those
and that
existed.
is just one of the species that we know about. Last week, for example, it was found a new ancient coral species in Galapagos. We have the only swimming iguanas of the world. Just crazy kind of reptiles, frogs, snakes, all kind of things.
One of my best experiences while surfing was when I surfed with dolphins beside me. This was in the south of Portugal, in the coast. Beautiful. I'll never
Wow.
forget that. Now imagine if I did that with pink dolphins. I would never shut up about it. I would
Yeah.
every person I would meet, I would say, "Hey, I surfed with pink dolphins beside me." I would never shut up
It's
about that story. I
actually
gotta go
it's
surf trip
it's
for
actually very
Ecuador.
normal as well in the north of Brazil and in Amazonia. Actually, you can find lots of those, and they're from sweet water, right? Right, from rivers and kind of stuff. They're
Yes,
not from
fresh
salt
water.
waters. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll just
definitely.
find like a rapid and just like surf a little bit. I don't know. I'll find a way. I'll surf with pink dolphins. I don't care.
They're very
Wow.
cute. They're very cute.
Oh my god. Man, I gotta
Yeah.
do that surf trip for Ecuador. It's actually really on my bucket list. Even when I was talking about what countries to travel around here, besides obviously, visiting the salt pans in Bolivia, some places here in Chile, Mendoza in Argentina, like places a little bit further away. I was always thinking of either Ecuador or Suriname, both because of the jungles and the wildlife that those countries have. Because it's so
Hmm.
fascinating to me. And it's one of my
Yeah.
most interesting things here in South America. It's literally like the jungles and the unique wildlife that these places have. So yeah, it's really I will have you walk
Yeah.
and hike with me to that same volcano. Maybe we'll have the same luck, or bad
Yeah.
luck, depending how bad the eruption is.
And with Edison, you're safe.
City.
You're safe
Yeah,
because he takes care of you.
Eh,
Eddie will protect
I don't
me.
know how much I can do with a volcanic eruption, but I'll try it.
But the things you can predict, you're very good at it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, last time that volcano erupted was not far ago, like 2016. So
Okay.
Is it the Cotopaxi? Did I pronounce that right? I heard that's like a
you did
very
pronounce it right.
beautiful. Yeah. Was it that one or
Yeah, but
was
that
it
was
another
another
one?
one. No,
Ah,
it was
another one.
Tungurahua.
Okay, okay, okay. Because
Cotopaxi
that
is
one,
just throwing us nowadays.
okay. That one, people say it looks a lot like Fugi. What's the Japanese
Fuji.
volcano? Because
Fuji.
it's very close to the city. It's like you can almost sight see the volcano through the city, just like
Yeah,
Japan. So
Yeah.
yeah. Is
it
the
looks,
is when you picture what the volcano looks like, is kind of
yeah.
like the Cotopaxi is the perfect picture for a volcano. It has the snow, is huge, massive. You can see it from the city. Is the second highest volcano of the world after Chimborazo.
Mm,
And
wow.
to hike up these volcanoes, you have to take a full night because you basically go to the refuge in the afternoon and then
Yeah.
you rest or sleep and you start hiking at 11 p.m. Hike up all night long. You arrive at the sunrise at 5:30,
Yeah.
6 a.m. You witness, I mean, in my personal opinion, one of my favorite spectacles of my life, the view from the top of that volcano on a sunrise. Very beautiful.
You're
Amazing.
making me want to come to Ecuador now. Damn.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh
In
my
that moment,
god.
it's just you on the top of the world, literally the top of the world,
Yeah, the
seeing
landscapes
everything
there.
around you above the clouds. Just amazing.
For sure.
And Edison, how is the feeling? I mean, the opposite feeling. You're used to, being in these such a highest capitals and cities. How's the feeling when you go to a place where is the level of sea? How's the feeling of a normal, normal place?
Well, I fly.
All right.
I mean, it's nice. You don't really have like a antagonism of altitude feeling.
Yeah.
You just feel so much air. I mean, and that is the idea that we have from the coast. When we are from the highlands here in Ecuador, people from Quito, from Ambato, from Cuenca, anyone that lives in the highlands, when we go to the Ecuadorian coastal region, that is the vacation place when it's full of oxygen, sunny, hot, nice. You lay down on the beach, grab a beer, smoke a cigarette, you drink a bunch of beer, and we say we never get
Not
drunk.
getting drunk.
All right.
I get drunk. So it's beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a place called
Hard.
Montañita. Montañita is the same hippie vibe, a lot of surfing, a lot of international surfing contests happen there. but there is the place that never sleeps. You go all day long. There is clubs, there is party, people drinking, having fun, surfing. The same people you see at 10 a.m. are out there at 2 p.m., at 6 p.m., 10 p.m. Next
They're still
morning, you see
there.
them, they're still there, same clothes, same outfit, getting drunk. One person is going around saying, happy
Same
brownie, happy
bottle
brownie,
of
happy
beer.
brownie.
Wow.
Amazing. And what is the national beer there in Ecuador?
We have Pilsener.
Pilsener. Okay.
Pilsener is our national beer. We call her La Rubia,
La
La
Rubia. All
Rubia.
right, all
the
right.
blonde one. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, yeah, and this is one of those big stereotypes that people have, like mostly with South America, but also with some of these, like, let's call it dangerous countries that people may be a little bit afraid, is that there's not these types of environments as you explained just now, like this partying, this community
Yeah.
feeling these happy vibes. And I'm happy you
Mhm.
came here to kind of demonstrate and explain that a little bit, that no,
Yep.
Ecuador, we've got this beautiful thing that you can experience by yourself if you just come here with an open mindedness, and just
Correct.
are willing to be with the people from the country, with internationals as well, and integrate and have fun. Yeah.
Yeah, as Ecuadorians, we're taking care of a lot of tourism because it's one of the big sources we have of income. The people are very organized. As foreigners, you feel like people are taking care of you. As any other country, as any other, big city or big touristic place, you gotta be aware of your surroundings. You gotta know
Hmm.
where you go, who you hang out with, what do you do. I mean, I got robbed. I almost got robbed once in New York, where I will feel like it could never happen, especially
Yeah,
coming from South America. But,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
gotta be aware. You don't have to be worried as long as you take the good care, good recommendations, and you
Sure.
are aware of your
Just
surroundings.
don't
That's
have to show off your things, like show off your
Yeah.
phone, show off your lots of, rings
sure.
or
Personal
necklace
belongings.
you
Yeah.
might have, expensive
Yeah,
stuff. Just don't show off, guys. Just take just enjoy
yeah.
the place, enjoy the vibe, but don't show off. This is
I
not
feel
For
very
America.
sure.
valuable as well when you travel to get to meet locals, get to meet people
Yeah.
from the country. Yeah, that's something I really love doing when I travel around. Like the moment that you see locals, they're gonna be helpful and tell you, don't go to this place, do these things, like this is safe, this is not. So I feel like open communication and being willing to merge into the culture of the country is always useful as well.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah. That's one of the things I always tell people, to just try to learn a few expressions of the language of the country, and always be, obviously, like cliche as it sounds, open minded, just to meet the actual people from the country, the locals, because they will be very interested to know your story and
And
why
just
you came to
go.
the place, and your own country even. I had that experience just like this week so many times, of like Chileans that I met
Yeah.
here. They were like, "Oh, from Portugal. What are you doing here? Why Chile? Blah blah blah. Things about Portugal, Europe." So there's always something to talk about. So don't be afraid. Just try it out, and then you'll actually meet people and know places that probably other foreigners won't know, because
Yeah, and it's
it's a
going to
local
open
thing.
lots of doors as well. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
alone in the country, and more you, Gui, like you came straight from Europe, right there, first country in South America, you don't know anyone right there. So talking with natives, trying to show a bit of your culture, trying to get into the culture, the local culture, is going to open lots of doors, and people
Yeah.
start to helping you if things that you might, bureaucracy that you might have right there. So yeah.
100%. 100%. Yeah, we can do the final question now.
Yeah, we're ready.
What I say,
So,
João?
Edison, we end this podcast with the same question every single episode. And Guilherme, feel free to do the question.
I'm
100%.
scared.
Ah, it's pretty
Be
cool, bro.
scared.
Nah,
Be scared.
don't be
Nah.
scared. Don't be scared. Nah,
No, Eddie.
he's just joking.
If I were to tell you what is the thing that makes you the most proud about being from Ecuador, what would you say?
Oh,
What is
our
the thing?
people.
Okay.
Yeah, Ecuadorians are caring, are welcoming, are Ecuadorians will stop doing what they're doing to help you
Wow.
and to, they will welcome you, they will take care of you, they will warn you on the things you do, you don't. So our people, I feel like we're very caring people. I'm very proud of Ecuadorians that way.
That's a nice answer, very
Amazing.
straight one. Sometimes people,
Yeah.
think for hours to answer this question, and
Uh,
that's pretty good. We could feel the vibe on you. I mean, how amazing person you are during the podcast. We could feel the vibes.
Thank you.
So I wouldn't expect a different answer for this question. So wow, thank you so much, and we appreciate it a
Thank
lot.
you very much. I hope you both come to Ecuador. Everyone that gets to see this, hear the podcast, if you pass through Ecuador, let me know. I'll be happy to give you good suggestions.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I will even think about it for July or June. That would be
All
an
right.
amazing time to go for sure. Very excited.
I'll be happy to welcome you here.
For sure.
In the
Wow.
opposite, the same, Adson. If you want to come to Brazil, doors are open right here in Rio. Lots of places
That's on
to
my
show right
list.
here. All right.
All right. That's excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And likewise in Chile. I even told Carlos, yo, you gotta come to Santiago now that I'm here. I haven't met any Ecuadorian people here, so for sure I want to bring a little bit of that culture here a bit. So
All right. All
always,
right.
always,
That'll
always,
be
always.
great.
And yeah, to our listeners, thank you so much for reaching the end. Be sure to follow us on our Instagram pages and Facebook pages at Podcast WWP, and be sure to not only listen but view our episode on YouTube. Just search Worldwide Podcast or Podcast WWP. And even on Spotify, you can view the episode with video, not only
Yep.
audio. So definitely see us there as well. And thank you so much for watching and listening. And see you guys next episode. Bye bye.
Bye bye, my dears. Take it easy.